Let's go now to Sarah Henderson, Victorian Liberal Senator, who is stuck in Canberra because of the lockdown. Thanks for joining us, Sarah. Look, we all know about rules. God knows we've been dictated by them for a year and a half now. How can the Victorian government justify not giving an exemption to a family in Warrnambool in those circumstances?
Chris, good afternoon. And I have to say, of all the stories, this is one of the most disgraceful decisions made by the Victorian government. And I actually went through this situation helping a family last year. They lost their 16-year-old boy to suicide, and I negotiated for weeks to have some exemptions in place to help the family. At the end of the day, would you believe, a senior health official in Victoria told me it would be a breach of the Victorian Charter of Human Rights. This is an absolute joke, Chris. It makes me really upset, and I cannot believe this decision's been made. There is no COVID cases in Warrnambool. What a heartless, horrible decision. Look, it just demonstrates to me that the Victorian government is really just floundering in how it's managing the situation in Victoria. But this is a disgraceful decision, and it is just so upsetting.
Look, it's disgusting too, because you saw the Chief Medical Officer there. He's shunting it off to bureaucrats. Don't blame me, it wasn't my decision. The politicians will do the same. We all know how this works. We all know that politicians and leaders can step in these cases. You can make exemptions. And in this case, the fact they have it is just terrible.
Chris, in fact, when I dealt with this very situation last year, there was a shocking, tragic death of a young teenage boy in Ocean Grove in the Geelong region. I just could not believe the heartlessness. I didn't say anything at the time, but this is just another example of the fact that we actually, under the National Cabinet, there is the capacity for the Victorian government to make exemptions at the margins when it comes to funerals. And the fact that they offered to run this funeral in a COVID-safe way, run it outside, and that's the same situation that happened last year, they just wanted to gather. And I'll tell you what the consequences are, Chris. The consequences for the mental health harm for Cooper's classmates and the families of those students and Cooper's family and their extended family and friends, the mental health consequences are just insurmountable.
You are so right.
I just cannot believe that Brett Sutton talks about equity issues. I mean, I'm really angry about this. I mean, Brett Sutton, get a life. Equity, what are you talking about? This tragic incident has happened. A young 8-year-old boy has lost his life. And what does the Victorian government do? Talk about equity issues? Sorry, Chris, this is just shocking. And I really think that, it comes a time when the Victorian government has got to lift its game. I mean, there is one reason that only Victoria is in lockdown, is because Victoria cannot cope with this virus as much as any other state. We have the same principles, the same support right across the nation. But we had one case in Victoria a few weeks ago. Now the whole state is in lockdown. More than $1 billion of economic damage, more mental health harm, more terrible toll in Victorians. And even worse than last time, Chris, parts of Victoria have been locked down where there are no COVID cases at all. So it is a backward slip from where we were last time, frankly, when the lockdown happened last year. And, again, the Victorian government is so arrogant that they will not listen to fundamental advice like please use one QR code, like what is happening in other states, to make sure that the contact tracers have every possible way of finding people quickly. But they are arrogant, they want to do things their own way, they won't listen, and look at the consequences.
Look, Sarah, there were a whole lot of issues, political and practical and medical, that I was going to talk to you about. We are out of time now, but I think this example, this case of the way they've made this heartless ruling over little Cooper's funeral says it all about how this government has lost the plot on the management of the pandemic. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Liberal Senator Sarah Henderson there. She comes from the Geelong area on the way out there to Warrnambool. And again, strength and love to little Connor's family and friends. Just shouldn't have happened to you. None of this should have happened to you.